Nigeria bans Twitter. Conservatives band together to help AOC's Abuela, and Trump makes another appearance. I'm William Hall, and this is The William Hall Show. All right, welcome back to the show. Glad to have you back here. So let's go ahead and jump right into things. So Trump, just on the over the past weekend, had a speech. He was at the North Carolina Republican Party kind of GOP convention there, and he talked about a few different things that I think are very important to what's going on right now in our political landscape. So let's go ahead and start off with the first big one that I think really takes home the cake. It's a really big point that he makes, and a good point, talking about how China must pay.
The time has come for America and the world to demand reparations and accountability from the Communist Party of China. We should all declare within one unified voice that China must pay. They must pay. The United States should immediately take steps to phase in a firm 100% tariff on all goods made in China. You saw what was happening with our tariffs. In fact, you know, the Democrats were fighting the tariffs. Well, he hasn't taken those tariffs off. He doesn't want to. Billions and billions of dollars, 25% tariffs on China. Billions and billions of dollars is pouring in.
So first of all, I love how he's actually referring to reparations from China and using this term that's oftentimes thrown around by Democrats when referring to the black population and how they must give that we deserve, or they deserve to have these reparations paid to them because of some past ill. Well, the thing is that China has actually done something we can directly point to, like legitimately. It's right there in front of our face when we look at the way that it was covered up, when we look at the way that they lied to the American citizens about this virus. We can actually look to that. There should be some kind of compensation when we look at this, because China is ultimately at fault here. They're the ones that have been covering this up. And as we continue to see more and more of the emails from Fauci as well, the leaked emails have shown that a lot of people in China knew. China is behind it. It very well may have had something to do with the lab there. It's all coming out and being more obvious as time goes on. Of course, as all things are. Once again, the conspiracy theorist, as the left likes to call everyone, wind up always being true. Just give it about a year, and then before you realize it, they're actually correct about almost everything. So Trump also went on to bash critical race theory as well.
The Biden administration has also issued regulations to indoctrinate America's school children with poisonous and divisive left-wing doctrines, such as critical race theory, and exact opposite of the American belief that we all are created equal in the holy image of God. We have a group of people, I don't know where they come from, but it's terrible. Just as the state House of Representatives has done right here in North Carolina, Republicans at every level should move immediately to ban critical race theory in our schools. And we should ban it in workplaces, we should ban it in our states, and we should ban it in the federal government, and it should be done immediately.
And of course, as usual, he's absolutely correct here as well. Critical race theory is one of those issues where every Republican needs to be uniting against it entirely. Any Republicans that are out there that are going along with the critical race theory idea or ideology need to be completely taken out of office entirely, because they don't belong there. It literally is contradictory to everything that makes a Republican a Republican. And the problem is that some people are pretty soft on it. Some of them are just letting it slide. Once again, we're here right now talking about this because there were too many soft Republicans already. So somebody needs to take a stand and say, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to allow for this to be okay. So Ron DeSantis, for example, has set a great example of this and talking and countering it and saying, wait, we're outlawing it in every school in Florida. We're not going to allow this to be taught in public schools. If you want to pay $50,000 for your child to be indoctrinated, that's on you. But the public school system, that's not their job. It never has been their job. Parents need to be raising their children the correct way. But either way, it shouldn't be taught in public schools whatsoever. So speaking of critical race theory, a person that was there, this black conservative named Mark Robinson, they're apparently the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, gave probably one of the best remarks of the night, full of passion, really just speaking his mind and telling it like it is.
The greatest example of that I saw and witnessed it firsthand on television was during 9/11. People running away from those burning buildings, running away in horror. We saw policemen and firemen running to those buildings, basically running to their deaths to go help others because they saw trouble and they knew that they were needed. That's got to be us in this day right here. We've got to run to the trouble, folks. And what is the trouble? The trouble is the Biden administration that is seeking to turn this country into a socialist hellhole. The trouble is Antifa that wants to roam the streets and beat you into submission. The trouble is Black Lives Matter that claims to care about the lives of black people but has turned a blind eye while violence in black communities are taking lives at a genocidal rate. They've turned a blind eye. That's where the trouble is, and that's what we've got to run to. And we've got all the right in the world on our side. And there ain't no reason to be afraid. And there ain't no reason to not take the challenge dead on. Because I'm going to tell you who we come from, folks. We don't come from some weak, jellyback, spineless people. That's not who we come from. None of us. And it doesn't matter what color you are, what nation your folks hail from, how much money you got. We all share the same name. We are Americans. And at Bunker Hill, there was Americans. And at Fredericksburg and Gettysburg, there was Americans. And at Iwo Jima, raising that flag on Suribachi, it was Americans. And at Pork Chop Hill, it was Americans. At Khe Sanh, there was Americans. And on 9/11, there was Americans who ran towards those burning buildings. That is who you share your heritage with. You do not share your heritage with a weak and ineffective people who cower at the sign of trouble. You share your heritage with a strong and brave people who are determined to hold on to their freedom and for the freedom of future generations. Guys, it's time for us to stand up and be that generation. It's time for us to stand strong and proud and remember who we are, that we are Christians, that we are Americans, that we are Republicans, and that we are conservatives. And as long as we stand as the vanguard of freedom in this nation, freedom will survive here. And not only survive, it will thrive. So guys, it's time to put on our packs. It's time to fix those bayonets. It's time to get ready. Because we got a fight on our hand. And our fight is not for us. It's for all those generations that's going to come behind us. Let's save America, folks. Because if there's to be freedom in this nation in the future, it is only going to become at the behest of the Republican Party, the grand old party, the party of freedom and equality, the one that always has been and the one that always will be. God bless you all. Thank you very much. God bless the great state of North Carolina, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
The fact is that we do need to fight. That's the key here, is that no longer can we stand in the shadows and just let things take place. And I just posted about this today on social media, basically saying that one of the biggest weaknesses of the GOP in general or at large is that they are so focused on just being defensive that when something happens, when someone tries to attack the GOP in some way, they just go on the defense. No, what we're really doing is this, guys. But what they rarely do is take action for the things we need to see in this country, for things that are objectively wrong, for things that are just inherently counter to conservatism as a whole. That's where we oftentimes are too weak and just playing the defense. And the key to a good defense is a good offense sometimes. And what we have to do here is to put on a good offense. We need to fight these things. We need to be countering these ideas no matter what the situation is, because it's extremely important. It's fundamentally important to our country and our school system, and it just really is even more than that, just everywhere in all things. So Twitter is now kind of under fire. They really have been exposed so many times, but I think this one really takes the cake. So Twitter was actually involved in a lot of the censorship. We've seen them censor conservatives in the United States, but rarely do they ever touch other countries. Very rarely is it that we see them, even if a leader of a country says something extremely horrible. Twitter tends to leave it up and they don't really bat an eye. And, of course, we've said this before. Guys, it's conservatives today, it's other countries later, right? It's starting to already infringe on certain left-wing people as well nowadays. But what they actually did is they deleted a tweet from the Nigeria president. And, well, let's just say that they weren't so happy about that whatsoever. So apparently, we have this new report here showing that Nigeria's Minister of Information and Culture announced that Twitter was being suspended indefinitely in the African nation. Twitter responded by describing the open internet. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But really what you're seeing here is that Twitter makes the first an action where they just delete a tweet. They censor a tweet, okay? Just one thing. They didn't ban the guy. They just censored a tweet. And the country immediately just says, okay, no more Twitter for anybody in this entire country anymore. Okay? And what you have Twitter doing, they put out this statement and they say that everyone is deserving of the open internet, is what they're talking about here. It says, an essential human right in society. Now let's focus on that last part. Twitter is saying that the right or the ability to get onto Twitter is an essential human right in society. Now, they're referring to the citizens, I'm assuming, of Nigeria, where they're saying the people there deserve, it's their right to be able to use Twitter, correct? First of all, this is Twitter getting a taste of their own medicine, which I think is hilarious, because this is exactly what they've been trying to do for so many people. And now they get their own kind of taste of it and see how they're reacting, see how they're behaving about it. But the thing is that they literally just banned Trump not that long ago. That was this year. And they've refused to unban him. And aren't they kind of by making the statement saying that Trump also has a right to the access of Twitter? I mean, doesn't that kind of mean the same thing? They're calling it an essential human right in society. That's what they're saying that Twitter is. How can you ban somebody from a site that you're calling an essential human right in society, especially when that person is the president or was the president of the United States? And that's where you have this problem here, where Twitter needs to figure out exactly what they're trying to do, because they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And obviously this is showing their hypocrisy more than anything. But the thing is that they're willfully denying Trump a platform. And they're, in essence, denying him his essential human right. That's what they're calling it here. I'm looking at the quote. By keeping him banned. And keep in mind, they completely took Trump off the platform. I mean, could you imagine what would happen if the United States reacted the way that this Nigerian president did? I mean, this guy just got one tweet deleted and immediately shut down all Twitter access in his entire country. Imagine how that would be in the United States if we actually did that, for example, or other countries. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if other countries do follow suit with this, because the issue is that Twitter has always tried to hold this moral high ground. This moral high ground that they don't care about anywhere else. They'll talk about pride. They'll talk about being for all these LGBTQ issues, but ultimately, they're not going to promote that stuff in other countries. We've seen the dichotomy of their behavior over and over and over again. They are not going to be the same Twitter to a different country, to different leaders, because they know that stuff like this will happen, that they're not very tolerant at all. And the thing is that you have Twitter effectively dipping their toes into foreign policy, foreign relations in countries that are not the US, and screwing it up because they don't know what they're doing. That's essentially what we're talking about here. And the thing is that other countries, like I said, are probably going to start banning Twitter too, because if they continue to censor like they do here, a lot of countries would have banned them a long time ago. They would have said, well, we're done with your platform. That's it. We don't need you here. I wish we would have done that here and had the strength to say that here, to say, you know what? We're done with your Twitter. Bye. If you're not going to allow us on here, then we're out. But don't sit there and simultaneously say that it's a human right. What they're afraid of is other countries following suit. So they're getting what they deserve. But the fact is that Twitter has been horrible from day one, and they're just really showing that they are massively hypocritical in the essence of online censorship and access to their platform. A New York City psychiatrist at Yale told her audience that she fantasizes about shooting white people. So this is overtly racist, obviously, but let's get into a little bit about what she's saying, because there's a little bit more in the details here about what she's talking about. So this is Dr. Aruna Kalanani, I believe this is how you would pronounce that, but she basically said that she has fantasies of, and it says, quote, unloading a revolver into the head of any white person that got in my way, during virtual remarks in April. She also went on to say that white people are out of their minds, and their brains are damaged and demented, and they have 5 holes in their brain. It's like banging your head against a brick wall. Well, it's kind of odd that the psychiatrist, supposedly, is really the psycho. I mean, this is extreme racism here. I don't understand how anybody that is in the medical profession can make statements like this and still have a job, can still maintain their life in society. Listen, these are veiled threats, and it's extremely, extremely bad behavior when you're looking at somebody that's supposed to be judging the mental abilities of different people or whatever it is. It's just extremely unprofessional. But for some reason, it's okay at Yale. It's okay to talk about. I mean, why? Why is this okay? It's clearly racist. I don't understand how it could be anything else other than that. If the roles were reversed and we had a situation where some white psychiatrist was saying, man, black people, I'd love to just shoot them, and they're so stupid, their brains have got holes in their brain, people would lose their minds, folks. Like, not just a couple of articles like these, but it would be national news. They'd probably treat that person significantly worse than Derek Chauvin. It's insane that it's allowed, depending on the way that the roles are reversed as far as race is concerned and who's actually doing it. And this person's in the medical profession, something that's becoming increasingly more and more woke, as you are starting to see. So this is really, really bad behavior on the part of the school, this doctor. Everything that this person has should be basically revoked. You can't make comments like this and then be expected to be able to continue your career and to continue doing what you're doing. It's absolutely horrible, disgusting behavior. So just a quick reminder that I do have a Patreon where you can donate directly to the show. And please, if you are on Telegram, make sure that you are following my channel or subscribe to the channel there. You can find that at t.me/William5849. Again, that's t.me/William5849. So a few conservatives over the weekend decided to do something charitable, something noble, maybe something a little bit trollish, possibly. It's hard to really kind of figure out exactly what it is or to fit it all in one camp because it's many different things. But this was involving the Daily Wire team, kind of spearheaded by Matt Walsh, and they were going to take this GoFundMe and contribute money to AOC's grandmother. Now, this is because of a tweet that AOC put out a few days ago that said, just over a week ago, my abuela fell ill. I went to Puerto Rico to see her my first time in a year because of COVID. And she goes on to say this is her home, and then Hurricane Maria relief hasn't arrived. Trump blocked relief money for Puerto Rico, and the people are being forced to flee ancestral homes, and developers are taking them. So this was kind of a Trump slamming tweet. Obviously, Trump's been out of office. I'd have no idea once again, but they have to continuously bring up Trump to prove or to say anything nowadays, even though he just can't get out of their headspace. So this was obviously a big virtue signaling kind of tweet to say, oh, feel bad, slam Trump, he did something wrong, therefore feel bad for me, for my grandmother, etc. Well, the thing was that I don't think she really expected for conservatives to literally call her on that, kind of to call her bluff, really, and start a fundraiser for her grandmother. So Matt Walsh actually tweeted out saying, shameful that you live in luxury while allowing your grandmother to suffer in these squalid conditions. Because of course AOC is not poor. She's making well over $180,000 a year. That's not including her merchandise line, if you recall, where she's selling sweatshirts for $63 a pop, just and etc. of that as well. But Walsh went on to say that virtue signaling isn't going to fix her grandmother's roof. So we are. Let's all kick in to help AOC's abuela's ancestral home. Any amount is appreciated, but the cost of a monthly lease payment on that Tesla is around $499 because apparently she bought a Tesla recently or something like that. And then it says that all proceeds will be donated to her grandmother if she will accept them. Well, here's the thing. So they actually wound up raising about $100,000 for this cause, which was really good. But I think everybody kind of saw this in many different ways. It's a bit of a troll. It's a bit of a calling AOC on her bluff. It's a bit of a charitable act at the same time. But the thing is that as soon as I saw this, I'm thinking to myself, she's not going to accept that money. There's no way this is going to work in your favor. You're going to either look like a fool to them, they're going to just completely ignore what you're doing, but either way, that money's never going anywhere towards her. So doing this is nothing but a way for a bunch of people to basically promote their own names, a way for us to kind of troll on the I guess the outset of it, or to show that, you know, capitalism can be actually extremely beneficial when people are uniting for a cause, which is true. But I never committed to it because I knew that was going to happen. And guess what? That's exactly what actually happened. So they were unable to even get the funds to her grandmother entirely because apparently when GoFundMe, whenever you do a GoFundMe on someone else's behalf, they contact that family. When they contacted that family, they said they didn't want anything to do with it. Now, I'm assuming that probably AOC contacted them and said, hey, don't accept this money because that would allow them to get a win against us. But in reality, the win was going to happen regardless because AOC is a liar. That's what this is all about. This was never about the money. It was never about her grandmother. We know that she's a hypocrite. We know that she goes on Twitter and lies repeatedly about certain things. So it's no surprise that she's not going to allow her family to take this money either. Because for them, that's not what they want to do. Right? And I posted about this as well over the weekend. Democrats don't want your money. They don't want your charity. What they want are your tax dollars. They want it forced out of your wallet and put to the things that they want it to be put towards. Because when they're getting your tax dollars, they can allocate it to things that you have no idea about. They can throw that money to the Smithsonian Institute, or they can donate it to help fund abortions. It's completely out of your control and you have no idea what's going on. They don't want your charity because charity tells you exactly what it's for. It's for a specific cause. That's what it is. They don't want your charity. They never have. It's the kind of the core Democrat tenet. They don't even give to charity. So why in the world would they want to accept charity on behalf of this group of conservatives on Twitter trying to come together to raise money? So it's kind of a waste of time from the very beginning if you really think about it. I get, yeah, it's a charitable act. I'm not saying anything against it, but it was a bit of a troll as well. And I think anybody that's paying attention and knows AOC to be the liar that she is, we know what the truth is. We know that she's a liar. And we knew that if you were paying attention, that none of this was ever going to wind up getting any money towards her grandmother whatsoever. Because that's what they do. And let this be a record for anybody else in the future. If they say something like this, where they're like, oh, my mother's suffering because of Trump or something. Look, we can raise $1 million for them. They don't want your charity. They never have. They never will. And we can choose to use that opportunity to virtue signal or and at least in our specific situation, to promote our names and put a bunch of donations towards this thing so that we can kind of all culminate together. Or we can actually commit to charities that really are actually legitimately important instead of these ones that we know inevitably will fail being given to people that we know are also liars, like AOC in this particular situation. That's the real thing here. And the fact is that AOC is kind of low-hanging fruit. It's not hard to point out her hypocrisy. We've done it a million times before, and it will continue to happen. But, you know, just another situation of some controversy going on, some weirdness with this whole entire GoFundMe situation. So with that being said, it's just a kind of an odd situation in general, but once again, it didn't really go anywhere. It really didn't amount to much of anything besides just proving once again for the millionth time that AOC is a liar, that we know her to be. So there's this video going around showing a bunch of people in Chicago, a bunch of black people that are dancing, twerking all over this police car. So for those of you that are listening to the audio version of this, basically what you have are a bunch of people being like surrounding this police SUV, and then there's about, I think there's 3 women that are actually on top of the hood of the car that are twerking right on the hood of the car. While the car, by the way, or the SUV, is driving down the road. Okay? Now, first of all, this is not the kind of behavior that's going to get people to respect you right off the bat. When you do stuff like this, I hope you realize that you are directly contributing to the problem. The problem of black people looking like fools because they can't behave themselves at any level. That's the problem. And the thing is, too, is that the cops can't really even almost do anything about it. Because if they do, if they run somebody over, if they drive off too fast, then they'll say, well, cop runs over, blah, 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 and completely ignoring the fact that people were twerking on the hood of the car or that they were in just the way of traffic. That's the way that these people operate. And it's just, you can't act like animals and not be expected to be treated like animals, but yet they continue to do that over and over again. So the thing is that this took place, like I said, in Chicago. They're actually launching an investigation to try and figure out exactly who these people were that were doing this. I doubt much is probably going to come out of that. But the thing is, too, is that ask yourself, do these people here look like they're afraid of the police? Answer that question seriously for me. Do they look afraid of the police? Because to me, they look like they could care less about the police officers. I mean, you've got people like LeBron James, many other Democrats that are saying black people can't go throughout the streets without worrying about getting shot down the middle of the street, but they're willing to twerk on top of a car and record it with all these people surrounding them. I don't understand. Please, someone explain that for me, because it doesn't line up with what the Democrats are telling us. Or could it be the fact that they're not really afraid of the police at all, and them talking about defunding the police, getting rid of the police, disrespecting the police, all of this was just a ruse so that they could just do stupid stuff and get away with it? Maybe that's what they really wanted to do the entire time. You tell me. But the thing is that in Chicago, there's another report that we have showing that this weekend, just this weekend alone, I'm not talking about the course of 2 weeks or the past 3 weeks, over the course of this past weekend, the past 3 days, 55 people have been wounded by gunshots. 55 victims. 5 people killed. Among the wounded are several teenagers as well. This is not uncommon. There have been many weekends where there have been 20, 30, 40 people shot and killed in Chicago all in one weekend over the course of 3 days. And this is how they treat the cops. This is what we're talking about. These numbers right there are going to continue to skyrocket because everybody that knows anything in Chicago is going to sit there and they're just going to continue to commit crimes because they say, hey, we can twerk on their cars and they can't do anything. So imagine what else they're going to do. They're going to get away with stuff like this. And sooner or later, it's going to get so bad that somebody's going to step in and the black communities, I hope, will turn and actually come to wake up and smell the coffee that it's not the police that are the problem. It's your own community. That's the problem. Fix that, and you'll fix all of these other issues that you like to point to. So there's this woman that is a Amazon or was getting a package from Amazon, and she was outside of her apartment and literally gets attacked by the person that was delivering the package. So there's no particular audio on this video. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, basically you have this video where the woman is literally going up. She's by her front door, and then there's this Amazon driver that kind of approaches her. You see that there's some words exchanged, and then the driver kind of walks away from the woman that she was delivering the package to. By the way, that lady I think is 67 years old. But the driver walks somewhat away and then turns around and just starts beating this 67-year-old woman senseless. And so we had no idea what was going on at first because there was no audio, but a report actually came out later from the complex owner, Doug Smith, and he's saying that he believes that the Amazon driver said something about your white privilege, is what they said. So I think it was because apparently the lady came out because she saw that her package was delivered, and the Amazon driver said, hey, you're going to have to wait about 15 minutes. Maybe that lady was complaining a little bit because she had to wait for her package, and then the driver said something about her white privilege, and then the lady that was supposed to be receiving the package said something about not complaining about it. And then apparently she turned around, the driver turned around, walked away, and then came back and just started beating the lady like crazy. And for some reason, this is just okay by the left, because It's a woman, minority woman of color, whatever, and she's able to do whatever she wants to do. So the sheriff sergeant actually said that they can't have our delivery drivers or people out there punching people in the face. And they actually did arrest her regardless, but it's just another situation where this isn't the first video or instance where I've seen white women getting beat up by black men, black women, or other minority people simply because they're white and they feel like they can get away with it. I mean, this is a rising issue. We're going to continue to see this happen. There was a video of a black man. They're in a store. From the looks of the video, from multiple different cameras and multiple different angles, nothing, the woman didn't do anything to this black guy at all. But apparently they were arguing or something back and forth, or he touched her inappropriately or something like that. And the guy just beats the sense out of this white lady. And we're wondering, when is it ever okay for a man to beat a woman like that? Well, in the way that we live in right now, it's okay because she's a Karen. This is what they want to say. They think it's okay. We've so institutionalized the general idea of the fact that black people can't be racist towards anyone else, that now you basically have given them permission to do whatever they want to do. And the media is complicit in it because they don't cover it. They don't want to talk about it. It's perfectly fine. As long as it's a Karen, then it's okay. We can laugh at it, right? Even if it's a black man that's vastly bigger and taller and doesn't care, it's perfectly fine. Or in this situation with this Amazon driver, it's perfectly fine because racism, I guess. That's the way that society has spun this. They're making stuff like this okay. You don't get to just talk about somebody about having white privilege and then automatically just start beating them in the face about it. That doesn't work that way. But you can see the hate over something so stupid as skin color. Something so arbitrary as skin color. That lady that beat that woman has bought into the Democrat lie that every white person out there is inherently racist against them. Not even talking about her maybe not doing that good of a job as an Amazon driver, the fact that she obviously marked the packages delivered and made her wait for 15 minutes. We're going to ignore all of that. Maybe it's the fact that you're just bad at your job. Maybe it's the fact that you shouldn't lie saying it's delivered when it's not actually delivered. But to then beat this woman in the face like that just goes to show that they could care less. They think it's perfectly fine to do it. They really do. And you're going to see more and more of this happen as the left continues to allow these people to do whatever they want. Twerk on a hood of a police car, beat some woman up when you deliver a package, doesn't matter. You're a person of color, you're a victim, so it doesn't matter. You get to do whatever you want to do. So that's one of the biggest problems that we have going on in our society today, and it's sick and disgusting, and I hope we don't see any more of it, but only time will tell. With that being said, I thank you for listening to this show or watching this show, and I will see you on the next one.